Well, hello everyone. Today I'm here to talk about 7 different tips on how to improve your life drawing skills by sketching in the backyard. For me, it's going to be sketching in my friend Becca's backyard because her mom has a lovely garden and I have chosen to focus on flowers and plants today. I'm not necessarily going to dive in on why you should be life drawing. I think that could be a whole video in itself. But if you want to improve your skill as an artist, I highly recommend life drawing if you haven't tried it before. It is going to help you out immensely, and it doesn't have to be an extremely complicated thing. It can be very simple, which we'll talk about here. Normally, I do travel, or I go to places like zoos or busy public areas to draw people or animals. But obviously, because of COVID, things have changed. And you don't have to be traveling, you don't have to be going to unique and different places to be able to improve your drawing skills. So let's jump right in. My first tip is to get comfortable. So if this is your first time life drawing, being comfortable is what's going to help you to start building that skill of visually looking at something and trying to represent it on the paper without having a flat photograph to trace or copy. You're taking the moving subject matter and you're finding your own way to translate that onto a piece of paper. And so being comfortable is key to being able to get into that zone. As your life drawing skills increase, or if you're already an intermediate sketcher, then you can try to practice different ways of sketching. So what I mean by that is maybe you want a table and a chair to start off with, and then maybe you instead move to just a chair and you have the sketchbook that you're using or the palette that you're using in your lap, and then maybe use sitting on the ground or standing. The reason for that is while you're first starting, you obviously want to not have to focus on how uncomfortable you are, but as you grow, you're going to start to go more places and it's going to get more and more complicated to draw on the go. You're not always going to have a chair with you or have a place to sit. Sometimes when I'm at a zoo, I have to stand and I had to learn how to sketch standing up, and that was completely different because I'm usually the type of person that likes to curl up with my sketchbooks. So getting comfortable is vital to starting out, and then you can also use sketching in your backyard to improve your ability to stand and sit in awkward places and still be able to get the drawing on paper. So this is just something that is fun to play around with. Find a subject matter that interests you. So of course here I am focusing on flowers, but depending on where you live, that may not be readily available to you. You can also focus on insects or birds, animals in your backyard. You can focus on your pets, say you have a dog. You can focus on grass, which is pretty much everywhere unless you live in a city or a desert. And then maybe you could focus on rocks if you're in the desert, or if you're in a city, you can focus on construction elements or fire hydrants or benches. Anything can be turned into a life drawing practice. Sometimes you can find backyard sculptures or fences that are really interesting, fence posts, ornate fence posts, light posts. If you're in an apartment building and you don't have a backyard, you can look out your window and look at the building next to you and see what the architectural elements are, the little flourishes around the windows, or maybe you only have a brick wall. What does that brick wall look like? What is the pattern? Which gets into my next tip, which is you don't have to always be literal. You can play with a life drawing. There are 2 good examples for this. One I'm showing you here in this video is that instead of drawing exactly what is in front of me, I am taking the texture of this plant and I'm turning it into a repeating pattern, and I'm playing around with light and shadow as a source for a repeating pattern that could become a print or like a fabric print. It could become a texture of a background. It could totally be anything you want it to be. And that's another way where I'm drawing from life. I'm using the life inspiration to dictate what goes on the page, but it doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can slightly modify it, and then I can turn around and use this in a different project later. I can use it as inspiration. Another example is concept art. So I can draw a flower and then maybe start adding little elements to it that don't actually exist in real life. But the base of it started in real life. It was inspired by real life, by what I'm seeing, but then I'm expanding upon it. Sometimes another great example, like I could take one of these flowers and I could put a face in it, and it could become a creature that comes from a flower plant or on a different planet, and I can expand upon that. And that's a way that I'm using the life drawing to build my skill, to give me ideas, to inspire me, but I'm not married to the realistic style of drawing. Another example of this is when I'm at a zoo. If the animal is moving around a lot, I'm not going to be drawing the animal as it exactly is because it's moving. I'm going to try to be capturing the movement of the animal. How does that animal pick up its paws? How does it move its tail? How does it move its ears? How does it move its eyes? What's the size relationship between its body and its head and its legs? All of those things are vital for drawing from life. Typically, my life drawings, especially when I'm drawing animals, tend to turn more cartoonish. I have a tendency to draw bigger eyes. That just is what comes naturally to me. But I'm not trying to be realistic or go for realism in my sketches. I'm going for movement. I'm going for size relationships. I'm going for general anatomy. And so all of these things are what I try to improve upon when I am life drawing. Next up, I have 2 tips that are kind of general life drawing tips, but I just wanted to throw them out there because they are important and it is kind of another skill that you can work on. Consider positive and negative space, and also consider layers. So when you're visually drawing something and you're focused on that one object, do still take the time to kind of look around that object as well, especially if it's a stationary object. You want to draw that specific object, but you also kind of want to take in the general environment. And this will help you to create more depth in your images, especially if you're looking to do landscapes or if you're into sequential art and you need to be drawing environments for your characters to be in, then you can improve your life drawing skill can help improve those skills for you if you're looking at, okay, I want to draw this bench perfectly, but I should probably notice what is the angle of the ground plane that bench is sitting on. Are there little bits of grass that are blocking the feet of the bench? And do those bits of grass create a pattern and a detail that kind of extends differently? It's not on the same horizon line as it's not perfectly straight is what I mean from the bench itself. Like maybe the grass is growing diagonally to the bench and then you're creating this really weird intersecting line. All of these things are good to pay attention to. You don't have to, you can just hone in on the bench, but if you're looking to build your environmental skills, your landscape skills, when you are there, draw the object, but then do pay attention to that object's relationship with the things around it. Sketching in your backyard is a great place to learn how to play with new materials. So if you're trying out new markers, new pencils, new pens, sketching from life is going to improve your drawing skill, and you can also play around with some new materials while you're doing so, and you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're improving your skill with a new material, and you're also improving your drawing skills by drawing from life. So try to play with new materials in your sketchbooks and when you're drawing from life. You will find over time that you do tend to have your favorite materials. For me, that is my tone sketchbook that I'm using here with, normally I don't use markers. So in this video, I am showing you how I'm playing with some new markers that I borrowed from Becca. But typically I use just microns and a white gel pen, and I use the sketchbook as a midtone, and then I use the micron as my dark shapes and shadows, and my white gel pen as my highlights. And that's my go-to sketching when I am out traveling. But here I am. I had a chance to try these markers and I'm having a lot of fun with them, playing around with different tones of markers and seeing how they look on the actual brown tone sketchbook, because they look very different from how they look on a white sketch. Lastly, these are not finished pieces. I see a lot of artists sharing their sketchbooks, and their sketchbooks are these beautiful, gorgeous, finished, like beautiful, realistic drawings. and they're calling them sketches. And it's so frustrating because I feel like enough artists don't share their dirty sketchbooks. And I do plan to share one of mine. I'm almost finished with one of my sketchbooks. I've got like probably 5 or 6 blank pages left. Once I'm finished with that sketchbook, I am going to be sharing it on this channel because it's a dirty sketchbook. It is not finished pieces. It's for thumbnails and working out shapes and sizes and relationships and random ideas. And it's when you try to make every single sketch a finished piece, you're going to end up stressing yourself out, and you're going to be losing the fact that these are throwaway drawings. These are just drawings that you're doing to kind of continue to draw from life and grow and build your skill and get better about drawing faster and more accurately and more realistically. Even if you're drawing a cartoon, you're making that cartoon that's based off of a certain anatomy, especially if you're drawing a cat or like any sort of animal or human. It is based off of life, and you need to understand anatomy and movement to help improve your drawing skill. So while you can take these sketches and you can make finished pieces, it doesn't have to be a finished piece. It can be something simple that is a standalone thing, or a thing you never show anybody, or sketches that you just toss away when you're done with them. The goal here is what you're learning from this sketching process, not the finished sketch itself. And once you let go of that obsession over having a beautiful finished piece, you can really hone in on the action that you're doing, not a product that you're creating. And for me, that is where I have found the most improvements in my creative skill that I've built over time. So that was a lot of information for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you did, please do give it a like. I do hope to start traveling again in the future and eventually be able to share tips with how I sketch on the go, how I sketch at zoos, how I sketch at while I'm traveling or stuck on buses and airplanes, drawing from life, drawing people. These are all things I hope to make a series of videos all about it, because this, honestly, sketching from life has improved my drawing skills so much over the years, and this is coming from a person who hated life drawing when I first started. But I've learned that it is a necessary part of growing my skill and becoming a better artist. So thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, remember to create love and travel on. I'll see you next week. Bye!